Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
My name is James.
And I'm Colin.
And this is where we talk all things Star Wars. And before we talk about all these exciting things, let's talk about all of our awesome Patreon supporters out there. Starting with Darth Ace 1, Liam McCowan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Deb McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Maka Talatala, Adam Haber, who I've got some stuff to say about, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, Darth Beard, Indiana Solo, Mariana Atia Arnold, who's helping us out with Japan stuff. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Rest Jedi 27 and Alex Bundell, thank you so much for all your awesome love and support. Also, LegionSabers.com. Go out there and use the code STUFF at checkout. Get 15% off your order. And it's more than just lightsabers there. So check it out. LegionSabers.com. So I was at South by Southwest this weekend in Austin. And thanks to Ted, Countdown City Geeks. We all know Ted. People have probably seen Ted on the podcast. He's probably watching. He invited me to go as media to attend some red carpets, do some interviews, just do a lot of fun stuff over there. South by Southwest is a very expensive place to get in. I have never even attempted to buy a badge because it's so expensive. I got in with the media badge, and there was also an event that was happening in regards to a podcast that I had been following for years and years and years. They broke up, which is kind of the cliche for podcasting. I guess it might not be the best thing to talk about here, but podcasts eventually break up and they go away. And this was my favorite podcast that broke up and went away, but they got back together again. And in 2010, I think they did a podcast at Stubbs Barbecue in Austin. I wasn't able to go because it was my wife's birthday weekend, and she was like, I want to go to the coast, and I couldn't say no to her. So lo and behold, it was their very last live podcast in Austin. They're from California. They came because of South by Southwest. South by Southwest has been going on for a while now. And it's like art, culture, movies, music. It's all that kind of rolled up into one big kind of roadshow type convention thing. So, of course, there's a lot of world premieres of movies. Ted made a big spreadsheet for us to go by, and he had all the directors and the actors in each film, and he simply asked us, what are you interested in? And we went one by one. One night we had a meeting, and of course I saw Daisy Ridley's name on a film called We Bury the Dead. And I was like, okay, what is this all about? And is she actually going to be in Austin? And last year she was in Austin. Ted met her. Ted actually sat either in front of her or behind her at her world premiere of Magpie. And he got to tell Daisy Ridley, hey, my buddy would have been here, but he's at Hawaii right now with his family. And she was like, oh, he's in the better spot. And that one split second, I was like, no, but then like, yes. So this was my year of redemption. So the time came. We got to see a really great documentary that's called The Age of Disclosure, and it's directed by a guy named Dan Farah, which Colin might be familiar with. He was the producer on Ready Player One with Steven Spielberg. Yep. And he mentioned that, and I didn't realize that until the very end of the movie. Yeah, James is pointing to the poster. Did I give you that poster, James?
Yes, you did. Okay. And I'm very happy.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite films of all time.
Great.
But anyways, it's about UAP, UFO activity, and it had a lot of the military there that had come in contact with certain craft and experiences and stuff. But awesome documentary. One of the last people to show up was Michael Bay. We saw Michael Bay go to the front of the stage, look around, and then Zachary Levi got up, grabbed him, and pulled him like up the rows there to a seat that he was able to sit at. So that was kind of funny. Richard Linklater was was also there in attendance. But
Nice.
at that red carpet, I got to interview most of the people in the documentary, which was kind of like the first. I think it was the first time I've really done that on a red carpet. Shout out to Sabrina on Countdown City. We did a red carpet for the movie The Astronaut, which stars Kate Mara and Gabriel Luna. And she handled all the questions. She interviewed all the celebrities. I was kind of like her backup. I was right behind her, just making sure the camera was good. We used my mics that I got from as an anniversary gift from my day job. So those worked out really well. But of course, the big day was Sunday when we got the okay. I think we were waitlisted. Then we got the full okay. But we had to travel from the Paramount Theater to the Zach Theater, which is not too far, but in Austin traffic, it can be harrowing. So we got there. I was like, okay, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If we're too late, if she's already through the line. Luckily, we got there right on time. I got to interview everyone that was on the red carpet for the film. And they were all delightful. They were all pretty cool. They were great interviews. There was an actress, an actor, and the director. And I got to ask them some insightful stuff. And of course, in the back of my head, I'm like, Daisy Ridley is walking around somewhere here. I don't think she's outside. I think she's actually in here with like the mass of people. So every time I would get someone new to interview, my peripheral vision would like kind of scan. is she up next? Do I gotta like start like my brain on overdrive to prepare for all these questions for her? So I got the two actors, I got the director, and of course she kind of lines up on the red carpet, and I'm like, oh wow, she's actually there. Being Star Wars podcasters, we have yet had the opportunity to get an invite to interview anyone that is in Star Wars. It's all been kind of like freelance and through Countdown City Geekcast. So it felt very strange that I was able to get that close to her and she got that close to me. But when she got to me, and I'll play the video here in a second, it was shocking, because she's standing right there. She's right behind James right now.
Yeah, she's a couple of places behind me. Yeah.
Yeah, the first impression was like, yeah, she's pretty tall. I'm pretty sure she was wearing heels, but she was about my same height. So with my shoes on, I'm about 6 foot tall. So she was looking me like straight in my eyes. She was very close to me. The video I'm about to show doesn't really do it justice because it was on kind of like the fisheye mode. So my tripod only came up to, I think, maybe like my shoulders. So I couldn't put it like eye level. So it's kind of looking up, and I had to adjust it to make sure that she appears. You'll see the kind of the warping of the lens a little bit. But once she gets in front of the camera, you can actually see her, and she looks fine. But yeah, I got to ask her a few questions. I had the experience with the other movie where we were at the end of the line and they kept on telling us 3 questions. Then they went down to 2 questions and they went down to 1 question because all the other outlets were just having full on like TED Talks with these people. And it's like, hey, look, we need to talk to these people too. So I wanted to be courteous. We were at the front of the line. I think she spoke with the official South by Southwest people, and then she got to me, and I will play the video here so everyone can see it. So I already uploaded this to Patreon. Everyone can watch it. That's on the purple tier on Patreon, but I will play it right now for everyone to see and hear, and enjoy. Hello, Dave Lozano, Countdown to the Geekcast, Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Welcome to Austin, Texas.
Did you say Star Wars the podcast?
Star Wars Stuff Podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So was there an element of the script when you read it that kind of like jumped out at you and made you want to play the role of Zeva?
I think it was the whole thing. I feel like the journey Ava goes through is quite monumental, and her emotional journey, her trying to reach whatever it is that she's going to find, however it is that she's going to find her husband, is so full of texture, and then the world is so full of texture that she's in, and really she's just on a propulsive journey to find this thing, but she's seeking an answer, she's seeking some sort of reconcile with herself and her shame, and so it's just full of beauty and sort of tenderness and fear and all of the good stuff that you want, but so much grace, I think, for her.
So the elements in the film, we have zombie elements. So were those primarily practical? Was there CGI involved?
No, they were all practical. There was the most amazing prosthetics team that came in and transformed everyone. So everything was practical. It was amazing.
Awesome. I got to ask you a Star Wars question. Is there any possible news on your upcoming Rey Jedi Order film that you can give us today?
Not today. Sorry.
Sometime in the near future.
Perhaps.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice.
So yeah, I try to keep it short and sweet because there was like 10 other outlets probably staring me down, just waiting for her. So yeah, got to speak with her. I've never spoken to any Star Wars actor in that capacity and on like a red carpet setting. So that's like the first time ever. I was thinking after Ted and I, we went to, I think, a lunch after that. And I was like thinking to myself, that's the first time I've ever met a Star Wars. And I corrected myself. I was like, wait a minute. I've met a lot of Star Wars actors before. And it was just like, for whatever reason, I couldn't conjure it up because I just kept on thinking about the whole scenario of me being like that close to her and being able to talk to her. Because even as like podcasters, like I said, there's kind of like a wall in between us. And of course, we haven't been invited to Lucasfilm or any type of event to talk to anyone. And I know there's a lot of red carpet events that happen, and a lot of podcasters do go out to them. James is literally right down the road from the El Capitan. So it's not like they got to pay for our flight or lodging or anything. So, I mean, we're situated really well. But yeah, my impressions of Daisy Ridley in person, I mean, I want to say I like her even more. I mean, she felt really genuine. She didn't have a wall up. She felt happy to be there. I mean, it's most of the Star Wars actors that I've come in contact with. They're generally like very, very happy about their situation where they're in, either at a convention or doing autographs or whatever. I've never really had a bad experience with any Star Wars actor, but Daisy in particular, it felt like she didn't have a guard up or a wall or anything. She was very conversational and really wanted to talk about her film. Unfortunately, Ted and I didn't get to see the film. We reconvened afterwards. General Kenobi from General Kenobi's bunker was right behind me on the red carpet. He was like my backup in case I fainted, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't faint. I was able to get words out. He did his podcast last night. I watched it. He was like, yeah, it was incredible that David got syllables out of his mouth to talk to her. But yeah, I mean, she seemed very warm, welcoming. She seemed like she could actually be in a superhero film. She looked very solid. I mean, her height and I mean, just the whole experience. I was like, wow, she could play a superhero. So hopefully, I don't know. She's done an interview where she put out the vibe that she would be in a Marvel or DC thing. She's open to it, but I think she kind of acts like she doesn't have a lot of work going on, but she does have films coming out. She's done several. I don't think Magpie is something you can actually download or watch currently. I don't think it has distribution, does it, James?
I don't believe I haven't seen it on any streaming services. But I was going to say one thing about Daisy Ridley. Letterboxd asked her about her favorite movies, and they asked her, "What are you watching now?" And she said, "Well, on the flight here, I watched Batman 1989," and I was like, "She's cool." The fact that that she called out Batman 1989 was a movie she watched, I was like, okay, cool. Anyways, sorry, just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wanted to get the Star Wars question in there. Of course, I knew she wasn't going to answer anything, but there are kind of rumors out there, and I think they've kind of been shuttered a little bit that her movie's not going to happen. Of course, it's probably not going to drop next year because they would be like insane work if they did that. But I think it's still on pace. I think there's another story out that the new writer has got something that many people are kind of in agreement on. I think she is as well. She just can't say anything. I think that's the latest news on that Rey Jedi Order film that I mentioned. But overall, yeah, great experience. She was great, and she was down to take as many pictures as we wanted, and she talked to everyone. Her publicist was right there. She never told her, "Hey, let's go. We got to go." I think they actually held the movie until she was done. If I would have known that, I probably would ask more questions. But like I said, I wanted to be a little bit more courteous than other experiences. But it was fantastic. This happened on Sunday, and I hope she comes back to South by Southwest next year and get to do the same thing over again. So, what did you guys think of just? I don't know if you've seen other stuff on her appearance in Austin. Have you heard any reviews on this film? I didn't get to see it, and I haven't heard anyone say anything about it.
I haven't heard anything about. Sorry, I haven't heard anything about that movie that she was there for. So yeah, no, I don't know anything about. I don't think anybody. I haven't seen any articles about it either. But from the interviews I did see, it looked like she was really happy to be there. And from your interview, I mean, I know she's just probably but she said maybe soon she'd be announcing something. So it's like, that'd be cool if at Celebration something is said, or if she does go to Celebration in Japan, that is something that would be really, really awesome. But other than that, it looked like she was very happy to be there. It was a warm welcome for her. Everybody was really happy that she was there too. So hopefully she keeps coming back to these things in Texas, and maybe she can go to SpaceCon. Who knows? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. From everything that I saw from that, I have to agree with James. It looked like a fun experience. It looked like she was having a great time. I think, when Star Wars Celebration runs around, which we're going to talk about here soon, is that we'll probably get that news sooner than later, like she said, just because there's been a lot of stuff happening like behind the scenes. So I understand why she wasn't able to answer that question, but here's hoping. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a really long time since we've actually done a full-blown podcast like this. Many reasons why.
Yeah.
South by Southwest. Darth Beard is in the chat. Joseph Floyd is new here. Welcome to our podcast. Haley Barr is watching. Ted says, "Good man for trying to ask that question about Star Wars." Thank you so much, Ted. Shout out to you for the invite, and it was really great. Hopefully, do you think they'd ever premiere anything Star Wars related at South by?
Never.
Okay, so with that in mind, there was a Disney Parks panel.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. When I knew about it. I knew it was on the schedule, but I was like, every time they do something like this, it's kind of lackluster. There's no one involved with the films or TV there, so I really didn't think much of it. I was more thinking about the TV side. But Jon Favreau showed up, along with some of the droids, and then Zalin working one of the droids.
Hey.
And he revealed some information that they're going to actually have some of those droids in the Mandalorian and Grogu film. Plus, they're
Yes.
changing up the Smuggler's Bounty ride or Smuggler's Run.
There you go.
I knew Colin was going to freak. The traveling to Bespin, Tatooine, and the ruins of the Death Star too. So,
Yeah.
I think that was like the natural progression of things, but I think we've all been kind of asking for that. Of course, Colin can speak to this probably more than anyone here. James can speak to it more too. But Smuggler's Run is Colin's jam. Yep. He knows all the ins and outs. He does Chewie mode without thinking about it. And Colin, so what are your thoughts on all that?
Well, so let's also talk about the stuff that they posted on YouTube as well, because there was a of what they showed at Southwest, and then some of the stuff they showed online. They actually showed a bunch of the behind the scenes stuff on Smuggler's Run, which James can relate to this. Yes, because we signed a bunch of NDAs, so it was just funny to see a bunch of that, like, of just on screen. And when I first heard about this, I was like, how much are they going to reveal? There are some secrets that they did not put on there, which we're not going to talk about, but it was cool to see that, like, actually, told and, kind of broadcasted by some of the Imagineers that actually worked on it. So that was pretty cool. But something that was really, really exciting was the new missions that were announced. And that was because for a long time, it was broadcasted that there was going to be other missions when Smuggler's Run first came out. And then basically the reason why that we waited so long was because they were waiting for technology to, kind of catch up. And for a minute there, I was like, I think that technology is where it needs to be. Where's these missions? And then here we are. We're finally getting them the same weekend as the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is coming out, which is super, super exciting. And we are going to Cloud City, we're going to Tatooine, and we're going to the kind of graveyard site of the Death Star 2, which is so exciting. It's so cool. And it's going to be like Star Tours in a way, but it's going to be more interactive. And this is something that David and I talked about, James. This is something that we haven't yet. But, this is kind of getting into the territory of what's Galaxy's Edge going to look like within the next year, because they've been so content on staying with the canon.
The sacred timeline.
Yes. Yeah, as we know. So it's going to be real interesting to see if they, they've got a couple options in front of them. And I think the big two is it going to be like Star Tours of where you go on in, and then it's just like, hey, here's the mission, and you're mixing it with sequel stuff, and then prequel stuff, and then original trilogy stuff? Or are you going to, change up Galaxy's Edge where it's going to be more pointed towards where we're kind of in the Mandalorian timeline of where we're seeing, no longer First Order stormtroopers, and we're seeing normal stormtroopers walking around. And David and I were talking about that idea, because this could be the first step in that direction, just because of the reason why they made Galaxy's Edge the way that they did when it first came out was because they wanted to advertise, Rise of Skywalker is coming out. Here's all the sequel stuff, get hyped for this. We're out of that territory now. We are now in that, kind of era of, we're just outside of the original trilogy. We're in between from Return of the Jedi to Force Awakens. That there's a 30-year gap. There's a lot to cover. So the step that they're going with Smuggler's Run is with these new missions is the question is, are they going to kind of reskin it to where Hondo is now, he got Onaka Transport Solutions. He made it earlier in the timeline, or because if they want to stick to the canon, they've got to make it work. They have to make it so. So my question, which I want to hear you guys' thoughts, is what do you guys think that they're gonna do with these new missions? Do you think it's gonna be like Star Tours, or do you think they're gonna reskin everything and make it to it's a new type of timeline and they kind of rewrite things?
I think going back to what you said, it was originally The Last Jedi and Duel of the Fates, because Kylo Ren's ship that's there was from Duel of the Fates, and then when they rewrote the script, they were like, well, we already have the ship, so that's just going to stay there.
And that ship, that gunship, is the only remaining thing from Colin Trevorrow's film.
Yep. So so what I was going to say was, like Colin said, we had been told, and I know we shouldn't say this, but it was there was talk, and I think it was public, but then we found out also that there were more missions. Like there were like a handful of missions that were supposed to be released with Smuggler's Run, and then it got down to 4, got down to 2, and then it was just the one that we've been doing since 2019. And I will say this, and I think Colin knew more about it than I did when I first started working at Galaxy's Edge, was I was shocked by the Groundhog Day aesthetic at Galaxy's Edge. Every day is the same.
Okay.
Every day you are only living this couple of months. And I was like, oh my gosh, cool, but you're limiting a lot of cool things that you could be doing with Star Wars at Galaxy's Edge. And when I think, what was the first? Was it when they brought Boba Fett, or was it Mando who they brought in like to walk around the park?
It was Boba Fett and Fennec Shand first, and then Mando, and then Ahsoka, and then Chopper and Hera, and then so on and so forth. Because now they're getting Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever Boba Fett and Fennec Shand came in, I was like, oh, okay, finally. And then Grogu and Mando showed up, and I was like, oh, it looks like we're getting to that point. And I think I'm going to have to say, I think they're going to get away from the timeline, the episode 8 and 9. And I think they're going to make it what we all kind of want it to be, which is just a Star Wars, I hate to say it, a Star Wars land, like just everything Star Wars is there. Rise of the Resistance, you can't change Rise of the Resistance. That is such a, like, that thing is so crazily built that there's no way you can do anything.
That's what David and I were talking about. I was like, Smuggler's Run, I think it would be a lot easier to kind of reskin and redo. But with Rise of the Resistance, that would be like a year project. That would be like a big thing just because of everything that happens in that ride story-wise. There's a lot to rewrite. There's a lot to, kind of redo and the script that they have, because it's not like a copy and paste thing. Like, you would have to change a lot of what the characters do in that ride.
You would have to change all the First Order troopers to something else. You would have to change Kylo Ren to something else. You would have to change the battle that takes place outside to something else. Poe is no longer leading. You know what I mean? So Rise of the Resistance is going to stay the same from now until forever. It's going to become the Pirates of the Caribbean pretty soon. I think it's going to be one of those like legacy rides there at Disneyland. But Smuggler's Run has a lot of room for opportunity, and the land itself has a lot of room for opportunity to not just be that timeline. And as for what Mari said here, they're not going to replace Hondo. Hondo was crazy to make. I've seen him. I've been backstage and watched the behind how he works, and I'm like, there's no way. Like it seems like a simple thing to do, and I wish they would switch him out with somebody else. Like even Maz Kanata would be amazing, but there's so much they'd have to do for that.
I don't know. I think Hondo is like, because the beautiful thing about Hondo is that Hondo works in all eras, because he was there for the Clone Wars, he was there for for around the Galactic Civil War of the original trilogy, and then we know he makes it all the way to the sequels. So honestly, Hondo fits for, of the theme of what they were doing for it. So I think it works in every era. The only issue is that with Galaxy's Edge now, with a Groundhog Day kind of vibe that you were talking about, is that this takes place 4 months after the events of The Last Jedi and 6 months before the events of of Rise of Skywalker. So Hondo started, Onaka Transport Solutions shortly after The Last Jedi. So the issue is that they would have to rework it in the timeline, kind of rewrite themselves out of the plot they've already put themselves in and kind of renew it. So that's my only thing. But, again, are they going to step in that direction of where they're going to start slowly changing things in Galaxy's Edge to eventually where it's all going to be caught up into, hey, this is, all one timeline. Because in a way they kind of restricted themselves with just doing the sequel stuff. And I feel like you've got more of a variety of characters and different stories that you can do from the Mandalorian timeline, because Han's still alive, Luke's still alive, Chewbacca's still alive, Leia's still alive. Like, you have so many other characters that you can do and bring in. You can have Moff Gideon walk around with stormtroopers. You can have the beginning of the First Order. You could have other Mandalorians walking around. There's so much more you can do in that timeline. So there's a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity what they can do. I mean, they're changing out the great moments with the Lincoln animatronic. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, they do change him out. But I will say this: when it comes to Galaxy's Edge, when it comes to Smuggler's Run, a lot of people don't even know that it's called Onaka Transport Solution. Like, nobody knows that's what it's called. You can call it whatever now. You know what I mean? And nobody knows that this takes place between episode 8 and 9. I mean, they kind of figured out when they go on, Rise of the Resistance, they go, oh, that's where we are. But I feel like changing the plot of Galaxy's Edge is necessary to keep it growing. And I'm excited for these new missions. And by the way,
I am too.
Is it new missions or is it a new mission we're getting? Is it just one mission that we're going to be getting?
No, it's 3 different planets. So think of like how you do go to Kessel in the original mission. Now it's like that, but with 3 other planets. If they did do that, where it was, you are going to Cloud City, now we're going to go do what we did on Star Tours and, jump to the next planet. That would be a lot to do. And that would pretty much be copying and pasting what they're doing.
Unless
Star Tours.
Unless you have your right pilot pulling the hyperdrive and your hyperdrive skipping through these places during the mission.
That would be kind of no, I don't want them to do that. You just have all of these great planets, and they've also advertised it as, these are the 3 new missions. So I'd be shocked if you did the light speed skipping thing like that. But the other thing is, how are they going to fit it in the timeline where, you got Mando and Grogu, but, they know who's flying the Millennium Falcon and stuff like that. So they've got to fit that in their timeline as well. So I'm curious of where that story is going to go. Maybe the reason why they pushed it back was because they're doing stuff with the animation and stuff like that for the ride, but also maybe they're trying to figure out story-wise, because maybe there might be something that happens in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that maybe you go watch it and something happens with the Millennium Falcon. Maybe we see Chewbacca. Maybe we see Hondo. And
what if that's like the big thing at the very end of Mandalorian and Grogu, where the Millennium Falcon shows up to save the day? That would be that would be pretty amazing. Just saying.
I think that's a big possibility, because I don't think that they're gonna redo what they did with Star Tours, of where your first mission is happening in the sequel era, and then you jump to the prequel era, and then you end in the original trilogy era. I don't think they would do that. I think they are going to think out that story, and I think it's a big possibility that they're going to make it make sense of why Mando and Grogu are going on this adventure, flying alongside the Millennium Falcon. I think there's going to be a reason for that, and I think we're going to find out in the Mandalorian and Grogu, and maybe you guys in Japan live will probably find out maybe at a different panel that they have over at Star Wars Celebration. They might dive deeper into that. So there's a lot of potential with this, in story wise, which is super exciting, because all of us want to see the Millennium Falcon on screen again. And, you know, it would be great to see Chewbacca and maybe Han Solo. That would be really cool. Finally getting that on-screen appearance of Hondo that all of us have been craving.
I think it's just you that's been craving. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
No. I know there's a lot of people who want to see Hondo. What did he text you?
So Craig texted me.
Oh, geez.
Maverick said it's a side mission that takes place off screen of the Mando and Grogu movie.
Oh.
So I'm saying in the video.
So it's a side mission.
That's not unheard of. Just because of if you are going Star Tours, there's a mission where you actually are at the Battle of Exegol and the Rise of Skywalker, and if you watch Rise of Skywalker, you can actually see Star Tours in that battle.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
yeah.
That would be crazy.
I'm excited. I'm beyond excited for this, and I hate to say it, but it's going to be insane at Disneyland and Disney World when this launches.
Yeah.
Like the line is going to be out the door, literally out the door of where Smuggler's Run is, and probably behind the building.
Just going single rider, bro.
That line's gonna. They're honestly probably gonna like turn that off just so they can get the people in, and it's gonna be crazy. But don't worry, I'll be watching Mandalorian and Grogu that day when it comes.
Oh, you're
out.
gonna watch the film?
What do you mean? I know I'm not gonna go to Disneyland the day. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna go watch the movie when it drops. Not go to Disneyland. Yeah. But I'm excited, and hopefully we see a change at Galaxy's Edge. So yeah.
Yeah, my personal opinion, they don't need to care about timelines at Galaxy's Edge. Just
here we go.
Give us the greatness that is Star Wars, and don't worry about stories. I mean, no one.
But
I don't think they're more of the population than not doesn't care about any type of timeline story thing. Let's just get Vader in there with stormtroopers and Hoth and.
I tried telling
Tatooine, and it's like, come on, let's just do it, guys.
I tried talking to some of the leads there about that, and they were like, "No, this is what." Like they were like so adamant, like this is the way it is, and I'm like, and I was like, you know what? If I were to go ask somebody where are we, they would say Star Wars Land, and if I were to ask somebody, what is this place called? They would say, oh, this is the Millennium Falcon ride. Like they have no idea because.
Right.
One, there's no signs there, which I get. Two, it's not really advertised. There's no voice telling you welcome to, you know what I mean? It's just you're there, which is great. It's immersive. It puts you where you want to be. And I love that. But at the same time, if you're so stuck on this plot line, what's the point if you're not letting anybody else in on what's going on?
So So
the general populace is not hyped up about it. There is zero hype right now.
They've got
of
different
our bubble.
books. They've got different, different comics and stuff like that. They have a whole Galaxy's Edge fact book that explains the timeline and everything. And I know that's not for everyone, but I think the beauty of Galaxy's Edge is, and just of Star Wars in general, is the story. And the point of Galaxy's Edge was that you are part of the story. Now, the sequel timeline and stuff, it's kind of aged out. We're past the hype of, for the new, sequel, Rise of Skywalker and stuff like that. Now we're in a new era where we got the Mandalorian and Grogu coming out in theaters. We have, a bunch of new Star Wars projects coming out. So I think if they add and change the timeline of it, I think that's what's going to hype people up. The beauty of Galaxy's Edge and the Halcyon when they had it was that you were immersed in the story. You were part of this timeline that is actually canon to what's happening. Star Tours is great. I love going through like the different, of the different missions and stuff, but it always threw me off that we would jump from, hey, we're in the prequels and I'm, flying through Coruscant, and then you would jump to...
It never did for me.
Well, I know, but the beauty about all of our fans is that we have a different perspective. Not everyone's going to have the same perspective as me. Not everyone's going to have the same perspective as you. But I think for the most part, that keeps drawing people back into Galaxy's Edge is that immersiveness. So I think when they actually get to that point, when they actually change the timeline, which I think is eventually down the road, I think people are going to look at it different because that timeline is going to be more relevant than what the sequel timeline is right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I just hope that they have a way of changing the land to where it makes sense. But yeah, I'm excited. I want to see a new mission. And like Mariana said, I'm always an engineer as well. So I want to be able, because I know the ride. I know everything. I know how it's done. So at this point, I'm just like, I'm just gonna just gonna be an engineer. Just let them have their fun. But yeah, so yeah, new mission coming to Galaxy's Edge next year, May 22nd, right? May 22nd, 2026.
It's that same weekend as the Mandalorian and Grogu movie comes out. So
do everybody a favor and just go watch the movie, because you're not gonna, that ride, the line is gonna be just probably like 5 hours long, no joke, because everybody's gonna want to see
saying that so then he can go on the ride. So
no, I'm not.
Movie and then
I will not be there. I still know people there. They're not gonna let me on the ride. So no, I'm just no. But I'll of course we'll all go eventually and ride it and be blown away. So yeah, so that's that news. What other news do we have today? I know it's been a while, everybody. Sorry.
Right. So the other huge news is the whole Kathleen Kennedy situation. And Colin and I are on the same page for the news about the alleged I'm going to quit by the end of the year. And then she came back and did an interview saying that I'll never quit movies.
Right.
Yeah, that's not addressing you leaving Lucasfilm. Of course, yeah, you figure she's still going to do movie stuff. She's one of the greatest producers, if not the greatest of all time producer. But the fact that it's Lucasfilm, that she's the president of Lucasfilm. She was handpicked by George Lucas. Yep. She's, had a very hit or miss type tenure. A lot of weird stuff has happened in regards to hirings and firings, and it's not been the absolute best that I think it could have been. But she has stated that she's actively looking for a replacement. It's going to take several months towards till the end of this year, possibly, to find a replacement. But a lot of people are thinking that no, she's still going to stay. But she said that they're actively trying to find a replacement. So a lot of people are kind of thinking that the opposite, that no, the initial report that she's leaving Lucasfilm was incorrect. Yeah. I had heard something a while back, like end of 2023, that she was going to leave or maybe end of 2024, that she was going to leave by the end of 2025. Of course, that didn't happen. Stuff happens. Situations change. People change their minds. But it looks like she will eventually be gone by the end of this year, or we'll have a replacement named. The thing that kind of just worries me is, who is this replacement going to be? Is it going to be someone that has maybe the ideas and the attitude that escapes what we kind of want, that we're kind of asking for, which is essentially the basics. There's a lot of deep history with Star Wars, with Knights of the Old Republic, Rogue Squadron, and stuff like that. Those would be pretty surefire hits. Yeah. So that's the only thing that kind of worries me. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Of course, they brought up, Filoni, Favreau might replace them. Filoni, he's a creative. He's not a business guy. If you Google it, a head of a studio doesn't necessarily have to have a specific degree or go to business school, but you need to have a specific type of mind to run a studio. And Filoni, to me, wants to create stories and move the story and the creativeness of Star Wars forward. Favreau, I think he still wants to dabble in other genres of even media aside from film and TV. So I don't think those two guys are in line. To me, it feels like it's going to be an understudy of hers. And to me, it might be someone like Michelle Rejwan, who's been with her since, I think, The Force Awakens, and has moved up the ranks. And she's towards the top of the ladder. If you go to lucasfilm.com, you can see I think it's Kathleen Kennedy and two other people, then Filoni as a creative at the top of the tree there. But I think it's going to be someone that no one is expecting. So what are your thoughts on that, James, about Kathleen Kennedy eventually finding a successor?
Well, I know she did an article with Deadline and our patrons.
Yeah.
I don't know if you released it, but I did release an episode on Patreon about this. And apparently there was one guy who, I don't know what article it was, but he wrote that she was leaving a couple of years ago. And then he wrote again, she's leaving this year. So it's all based off of this guy's kind of his.
Was it the guy from Puck News?
Yes, he's the one who did it. And the guy who wrote the Deadline article was like, it was kind of crazy. He's like, he has like some vendetta against Kathleen Kennedy, the way he's been writing. And there's been years and years we've been hearing this, and y'all remember this. There is a civil war happening at Lucasfilm between Favreau and Filoni. Kathleen Kennedy will not let them do what they want to do. And it's like, that's not happening. Like
It's just
literally
clickbait. Yeah,
exactly. So what I'm saying is, when this article came out, it was like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. And it went everywhere. Everybody reported on it. And then if you look, it kind of died because I think a lot of those publications were like, oh, actually, that's not really what's happening, because she herself came out and said, I'm not, like, there's no active, what's the word I'm looking for? There is look for a new person. She is kind of also looking for somebody else, but the timeline of her leaving is still up in the air. We don't know when she's leaving. And like David said, she's got to be producing movies for the rest of her life because she's been doing it since the 80s. Her husband is also a very, very successful producer. He's producing all the Jurassic Park movies because she's no longer a part of their company. So he's doing all the Jurassic Park movies. And I think who would replace her is much like what David said. It would be somebody from the ranks that has been learning a lot. Favreau, no, I would not want Favreau to be in charge, because once you're in charge, that's it. That is your job. You are having to run a whole company. Everybody's like, oh, this is perfect for Filoni. It's like, no, it is not. Filoni, it cannot. We want Filoni to be the creative. We want Filoni to be where he's at because it's perfect. So somebody else needs to rise up. But as for Kathleen Kennedy leaving, I'm just going to wait to see what happens because I don't think it's going to be at the end of this year. If anything, it might be right after Mando and Grogu, but it's still up in the air. But she says she's producing Mandalorian and Grogu, which is, full steam ahead, which of course is already probably done with production. And then the next movie was Sean Levy's film that she said is like the next one they're going to be doing within the next couple of months. And
that's the big piece of news. Yeah.
And then they're expecting the script from the new Rey film. And funny enough, he wrote Bourne Supremacy, which Frank Marshall and I think Kathleen Kennedy also produced the Bourne movies as well. So again, she's pulling from the Bourne movies because she was like, hey, those guys knew how to write. Tony Gilroy knew how to write really well. I got to bring somebody else in who knows how to write really well. So that's why she brought him in. So we'll just see. We get to wait and see.
Yeah, and Simon Kinberg is writing the next trilogy after Episode 9.
That's also news. Yeah.
Yes, she said that this is the next kind of story, the new saga that moves us into the future. And then she also talked about how James Mangold is currently writing the Dawn of the Jedi project, and that Taika Waititi is still writing a script that Kennedy saw a first act for she really loved. So I think I still think it's crazy after all these years that we're still talking about that.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah,
Taika
I know.
He fell off just like Brad Bird, man. Like, I don't care any movie they make anymore.
And then here's an actual quote about her talking about people saying that she's like fully out leaving Lucasfilm, which again, there's so many other different pages and stuff that got the news wrong, where it was like, of which I say this quote all the time, but of what she said was true from a certain point of view. Just because she says that we have every intention of making an announcement months or a year down the road. We are in lockstep as to what's going to be, and I'm continuing. I'm producing the Mandalorian movie right now, and I'm also producing Sean Levi's movie, which is after that. So I'm continuing to stay at Lucasfilm and looking very thoughtfully with Bob and Alan as who's stepping in. So that is all underway, and we have every right to make that announcement when we want to make it. Because you've got, it's so funny when and I guess us as podcasters can kind of kind of relate to this, but when you see a news article jump out and then you see Variety or Collider, you want to jump on that news right away because you want to be part of that bandwagon that's keeping up with the news. So everyone started posting this, not everyone, but there are some pages that did not have the full context of what that actually meant. And, people were saying that Kathleen Kennedy was fully out leaving, like she was done, she was quitting. And the fact that Kathleen Kennedy actually came out on the record and was, speaking directly to, everyone saying, hey, I am still part of Lucasfilm, but eventually soon I'm going to step down from my current position. And people were just saying that she was full out quitting. So it was really interesting to see her fully out say that, hey, here's the real story. And that just blew up right away. And some pages are still running with it, saying that, that she's still, quitting and stuff. So I just think it's really interesting. But from that, we got a lot of news. So I think,
we got the news that Sean Levy's film is happening very, very soon. Like that is going to production probably this year, or maybe probably in the summer or in the fall of this year. It's going to go into production.
Ryan Gosling ?
Yeah, exactly. And apparently, I mean, that's gonna be a hit. You know what I mean? And
also with sequel characters sprinkled in.
It's gonna be, what was it, 5 or 6 years after Rise of Skywalker. It's its own movie, but it's also gonna have some legacy characters popping up in there. So yeah, it's just interesting at the hatred people have for Kathleen Kennedy, to where if this article comes out, because I was on TikTok, I was on Instagram Reels, and people were posting so many videos and pictures of the Ewoks celebrating, and they're like, she's leaving finally, she's finally gone, and I'm like, oh my. And then
you're doing the Ewok celebration.
And I always make the joke, like, hey, y'all liked Rogue One, like, yeah, she produced that, she's the one who was like, they have to die, you know what I mean? Like she knows what. And then of course we found out later with Solo, like she was pushing for Solo to be not released then because it was going to fail with all the other movies.
Bob Iger.
And Bob Iger was like, yeah. And thankfully he finally cleared that up so everybody could know like that was him. He was like, yeah, we made a mistake with Solo. Yeah. And it's always great to look at people on TikTok and they're like, oh my gosh, I was watching Back to the Future and look, and it says Kathleen Kennedy, executive producer. And then I was watching The Land Before Time and look, and I'm like, yeah, like, of course. But anyways, yeah, I don't understand the hatred for her. And I feel like she's doing as good a job as, and never mind, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say, but I don't want to make anybody mad.
So, James, do you think there's a correlation with Oscar Isaac going to Japan and him being in the next Star Wars film that Sean Levy directs?
I mean,
we can ask him when we take a picture with him, right?
I'll ask him when I take my picture with him.
The 5.58 seconds we have with him, we can ask him that question.
If that long, like
I'm going to be seeing John Boyega here in a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Colin's going to talk to John.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he will be at C2E2. So
that's pretty cool, man. But. We'll see, and okay, so we're here to just clear the record, and and David and I and Colin, we're pretty good at not putting stuff out right away because we've learned to just kind of wait to see how the story progresses, and just
we've learned the hard way because I forget what did we forget what article it was, but I think we jumped on the bandwagon and it ended up being wrong, and then we ended up like making a statement like of saying, hey, we're sorry about this. I forget what it was.
I forget what it was. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
remember. It was a while back.
It was very early days when we didn't know exactly that
long time ago.
people are
5
out there
years
just
ago, I
straight up
think.
lying about Star Wars news.
Yeah.
Speaking of early days, all right. Those of you who are watching right now, today is actually a weird thing because 7 years ago today, David came over to my apartment and we recorded our first episode this day 7 years ago. I didn't know who David was really. I just knew him from lying at Target.
But you invited me to your apartment.
Yeah, here's the picture of us. Let me see if I can do that. Yeah, there we are.
7 years ago. That's crazy.
7
And
years
evidently
ago.
was cold.
It was really cold in this March.
Because
But
wearing
yeah,
long
this
sleeves
was
in
our
Texas.
first picture, and we had just got done recording our first podcast. So, yeah, we might share it on Instagram so y'all can see it as well. But yeah, 2018.
Yep.
It was right the day before was whatchamacallit. The day before was when they released The Last Jedi on digital.
Yep.
And so yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yep.
And but yeah, so anyways, what else we got? So that's a Kathleen Kennedy talk.
Let's talk about the main panels that are going to be
Celebration.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Let's shift gears here and go to
yes. And unfortunately, I will not be there, but I will be with you guys in spirit. And when you guys are over there, I'm going to be in the States, and I'm going to be on top of the news. It's going to be great. I'll be, on it. It's going to be sick.
Colin will be with child.
Yes. So that Friday is going to be the Mandalorian and Grogu panel. And then on Saturday, you've got two big panels, which is the Andor panel, which most likely, for those who get to go, they'll probably do what they did with the Mandalorian and Obi-Wan Kenobi, of where, if you're able to go, they'll probably screen like those first couple of episodes, because they did that with Obi-Wan Kenobi, which David and I were able to go to the kind of red carpet premiere for that. That was pretty cool. And then we got to see the first two episodes. So, and we were actually in the room with the cast. So that was pretty sick. And then, so most likely they'll probably do that for the Andor panel, which is exciting. And we'll talk about the lottery system in a bit as well, because it is different than what they've done in the past.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the number of attendance this time around. But after that, they are doing the Ahsoka panel, which, they'll probably, talk about season 1, like, they'll have the cast there, talk about that, and then they'll most likely go into, what season 2 is going to be about, and, of all that stuff. We know they're shooting, so you guys will probably get some type of teaser.
I think
for
if anything, I think we would get concept art. I don't think we're gonna get scenes.
They're already so. I would have said that, except a couple of months back at D23, there was the stuff about the Mandalorian and Grogu. They were shooting only for 2 weeks, and they showed a lot of footage for the Mandalorian and Grogu at that point. So I think honestly, anything can happen. Which
we're gonna get something pretty juicy at Celebration, I think.
Yeah. I would be shocked if you guys didn't get any type of footage of Ahsoka season 2. I would be blown away. And then on Sunday is going to be the first look of Star Wars Visions Volume 3. Most likely that's going to be like the animations panel, because they'll also, probably talk about the upcoming new animated shows that they're working on. Those are the main panels that we know about right now. There will probably be some anniversary ones. There'll probably be something with Oscar Isaac. There'll probably be stuff about the parks, something about a new Star Wars game. Though that's what traditionally happens at Star Wars Celebration. And then for the lottery system, this is also interesting because it's not going to be your traditional lottery of where like you kind of put your name in the ballot. You sign up for something and then you hope you get it. Who wants to talk about that out of the two of you? Because I think you know more than me about it.
Actually, I don't know much about the lottery system. So,
David, no?
David, please take it away.
You want me to explain the lottery system?
Yes.
Oh, well, they're not doing it traditionally, of how they've been doing it since
Untraditional
2019.
style.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
okay.
Yeah,
So you don't.
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't heard. I know as today they announced the lightning lane for not lightning lane, the lightning pass or
Lightspeed lane.
Lightspeed, you know what I'm trying to say. Lightspeed for the reservation for the store, and that sold out pretty quick. David tried, and our friend Haley also tried. Mari actually, she got one, a reservation for the Lightspeed lane.
Nice.
So what we're gonna
She will have all my yen to buy product.
Is I'm just gonna give her a list of things, and then she has to go in there and then get it all. I'm just kidding, no. But yeah, so yeah, the light speed lane reservations have sold out for a Celebration Tokyo, and next week or the week after, we're going to be getting the reservations for the panels. And she's over here saying today they did the reservation for Lightspeed for shopping, and it was awful. But hey, you got it, so good for you. And but yeah, so yeah, celebrations very, very soon. But this time next month, I'm actually already going to be in Tokyo, so that is wild to think about. And I haven't even started packing. So,
I've got the full description for the lottery stuff right in front of me. I can read it. So it says, regarding panel reservations, each person needs to make their own selection separately. Unfortunately, we cannot accommodate group selections for Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025. This means that even if tickets are transferred, each individual must make their own panel reservations. We understand this may be frustrating, and we apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. Now, this sounds like traditional reservation stuff, except for this next paragraph, which says, please note that that panel selection opportunities will be available prior to the event and will be offered on a first come, first served basis once you get through the online queue. We will provide more detailed information about the panel reservation process soon. In the meantime, we recommend staying updated through our official website and social media channels for the latest announcements. What does that mean? If you go to Disney World or Disneyland, and if you've ever had to get a wake up at 7 a.m. to get a boarding reservations for Rise of the Resistance or for Cosmic Rewind at Epcot, it's going to be like that. So you've got to wake up at a certain time. You have to have your app ready, and then you got to go. It's like getting tickets for Star Wars Celebrations. It's like boom, boom, boom. So you have to be on your phone and ready to go. Thank God I don't have to go through that, because I'd be going insane. So I am hoping you guys get through it, because that would just be, oh man. Because I remember like when Brooke and I went to Galaxy's Edge for the first time, and we had to go through that, of where we had to just have the app ready and everything. It sounds like that is what it's going to be for the first come, first serve. So if you are trying to get to these panels, make sure that you've got your app ready. My recommendation is don't refresh, because if you refresh, it's probably going to take you out of the queue. But yeah, so there you go.
So they are going to split up families this celebration, because everyone needs their own email address.
Yep.
Okay. So I need to transfer the tickets.
Yes, you do. Yeah. See, yeah. It all makes sense now.
Crap.
But anyways, but yeah, I'm still looking forward to it. Even I'm really hoping I get into the panel, because we just flew halfway across the world.
Dude,
so I'm
I felt
really
the same
hoping,
way in London, man.
really hoping I get at least one panel. I really want to do the Mandalorian and Grogu panel and the Ahsoka panel. Because I mean, those are the ones that are going to be coming out soon. Andor, it's like, I get it. The show is going to drop in a couple of days. Like when we land, it's going to be the 3 episodes are already going to be there.
Yeah.
They'll probably show it to us there the first night.
Yeah.
3 episodes.
Because of no joke, if that's happening on Saturday and they show it to you guys that night, no joke, a couple of days later, like because it's that Saturday and then going to that Tuesday. It's only a couple of days when the actual episodes will be to the public. So, but yeah, but that's good if you guys go, because then we can hop on that review and breakdown real quick. So
true. And we had some people the other day saying, can y'all like record? And we were like, we're not gonna.
No!
There's no need. And you don't want to watch your first images of Andor on my phone. Like, even I have a pretty nice phone. You don't want to watch Andor on my phone. But yeah, Andor, I think I'm okay if I don't go to that one. But definitely Mando and Grogu and Ahsoka are like the main ones I want to go to. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's getting exciting. It's getting scary. David and I, we actually have our hotel is going to be across the street from the convention center.
Much, man. I'm gonna have so much FOMO.
Yeah, and David was really smart he was like, let's just wait. And although I will say, David did tell me when I land, just go straight to the hotels and start looking around. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But instead, I went online.
That's why you got so quiet on the phone, James.
Exactly. Instead, I went online and I would just look at the hotels near. And Haley, who's she may be listening right now, she was also doing the same thing. Because when we found this hotel, we were all in a 3-way call, and we were like, this was not available yesterday. And it was like, we got to get this hotel. And sure enough, we got it, and then it's gone. And then, so anyways, like I'm saying, we got really lucky. We're very fortunate. We get to just literally walk 10 minutes from our hotel to the convention center.
It's like our 2022 Anaheim experience, Colin. Yeah. We stayed at the hotel connected to the convention center, and it was fantastic, man.
Yeah. I still like my 22 Anaheim experience. I got to go home and sleep in my bed, and then
just live down the road,
and drive my car, and then park, and then it was great.
How do you think I felt for Chicago? Like, that was awesome.
That was wild.
That was like a 2-hour
that was
drive.
Great too. You were our chauffeur, basically. Yeah,
that was just the best. Your mom made that pasta casserole or something.
Yeah. Yep, and I think we had a bunch of sandwiches too. I think we saved a lot of money on.
We got a briefcase of White Castle.
Yes, you guys went to White Castle.
We ate a lot of white, and it was a little too much. I wasn't feeling too well the next day, but I remember we had a lot of White Castle. But anyways, we should do a whole just reminiscing about past celebrations. I think we should do an episode about that.
Smells like a Patreon episode to me.
Oh, did you hear that, patrons? You got to have a nice episode all about our experiences at Celebration. Oh, Darth Ace.
What's up, Darth Ace 1?
Welcome.
I mean, I feel like we say it like every other episode, but honestly, Star Wars Celebration is the reason why this podcast exists. If none of us went at the right time, like, no joke, if someone wanted to time travel and just tap someone on the shoulder, we might have not been placed in the line at the right time, and that would have just caused a whole the end of the world situation.
A lot of factors played into us meeting and doing this. Like, it's a lot of things happen, and I'm really happy. And like I said at the beginning, I'm going to send you the picture, Colin, so you can post on our Instagram.
Yep.
The 7-year. I sent it. You have it. I sent in the text, the group text. And it's just wild to think that we're here, 2025, and now we're going to go to Tokyo. It's like, what in the world? But yeah, speaking of Andor, they're going to, of course, release those 3 episodes. Each week you're going to get 3 episodes, which is going to be 1 year of Andor's life leading up to Rogue One, and I'm excited about that.
So the last 3 episodes, which not that many people are talking about, but the last 3 episodes will be like a day. So the 3 last episodes will be the 3 days before the events that will lead directly into Rogue One. So that last moment, the last episode will be like, he's going in that alley, and then he will be talking to that informant.
Because if you watch the beginning of Rogue One, he turns the corner and he's looking back at something, and then he keeps going. And then, so I'm wondering if we're literally going to see the 2 seconds before that, and it just cuts to black, and then we're going to be like, okay, now put in Rogue One, and there's the rest of the story. That
he will be really looking back at Max Rebo. I know secretly.
Man, how did you? We went so long.
How did you get to Max Rebo from Andor?
You built it up. Sense. I could not say it, dude.
That made 0 sense. What you just did right now, man. I'm just gonna throw that out there. That's ridiculous. All right.
So yeah, speaking of Andor, today Tony Gilroy did a Q&A at 3 p.m. during the workday, and it was like work gymnastics trying to listen in on what he was saying. And he's just so refreshing, man. I mean, there's no wall up. He tells it like it is. And he's going to leave us. He's not going to be back for any Star Wars project, reportedly. I don't know. If I was running Lucasfilm, I would wrap that guy up. I'd be like, hey, look, man, you got whatever you want to do. Is there anything that interests you that we can like bring to like the same type of like level and grit and adultness that you did with Andor? What do you want to do? Rogue 2? Do you want to do the Bothans stealing the plans from Death Star 2? I mean, what are we thinking here, Tony?
Can you imagine if he's like, I've always liked Darth Vader? Be like, oh man, if he did a series about Darth Vader hunting Jedi and murdering Jedi,
Darth Vader still might show up in Andor. We might see that. That is a possibility.
I don't know, man.
Okay, so I'm glad Colin said that, because while he was talking, they're of course like trying to avoid spoilers and stuff, and he kind of had the look in his eye, and he kind of had the
that Tony Gilroy look in his eye.
That thing where it's like they asked him without spoiling anything, what can we expect in Andor season 2? And he didn't say surprises, but it felt like he wanted to say, there's going to be some stuff you're going to see that you're really going to like. And it's going to be stuff that people have been probably wanting to see. And
I would be shocked if we didn't see Vader.
Genevieve O'Reilly, she said Andor season 1 was laying down the track.
Yes.
Season 2 is the juggernaut coming down the track now. So if it's a juggernaut, I mean, Vader, he's right there. Tarkin is right there. We know we're getting Krennic.
There's also chances for big Rebels cameos. And I know that not everyone wants to lean towards it, but if they're going to Yavin, this is crossing over with events happening in Star Wars Rebels. Harrison Dula is the perfect person to bring in. Chopper again. You already have her name.
They were in Rogue One.
Yeah, they're already in
Ghost and Chopper.
Yeah, right.
It works.
Sarah is there. Yeah. She's already there at Yavin. Yeah.
So he did say there's not going to be any Easter eggs or cameos that are just there for Easter egg and cameo purposes. There's going to be reasoning for all the stuff that's going to show up.
And those characters make sense because it's happening. It's overlapping. One other big event that's happening in this actually, completely crosses over with Star Wars Rebels. And that would be the actual I've got it right here. Stand by. Hang on. It's the
and you do kind of get the feeling that Tony Gilroy doesn't want to kind of move on. I think the way he sees Rogue One, Andor season 1, Andor season 2 as this big piece of work that he did, and it's going to be complete, and he can look back on it with fond memories. And just the way he talked to Adria and Genevieve, and I'm forgetting the actor's name that played Melshi, but he was there too on this Q&A today. And then Cassian himself, Diego Luna, did like a special recorded message. It felt like they were a family. They got it. They were in tuned, and we got magic in season 1 and season 2. It's gonna be wild.
So the Gorman massacre will be shown in this, and that, no joke, is a direct crossover with Rebels, because that's the event that makes Mon Mothma leave the Galactic Senate and join the rebellion officially. So that's going to be a very defining moment, and I would be very, very shocked if we didn't get any type of Rebels crossover.
That's going to be wild, though, that we're going to be getting those crossovers. And you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be like, oh, okay, this is all coming into play now. Yeah. And Darth Beard said, don't you think it's crazy we're running out of great writers and showrunners for Star Wars? All the best are either dead, retired, or moving on. Look at the Rey movie. How many writers has that gone through? It's gone through 2. It's on the second writer right now, you know of. And I don't want to get into what I think is going on at Lucasfilm and who is anyway. I don't want to, but anyways, and John said also, Mon Mothma leaving the Senate. Yeah, we're definitely going to see that moment when she leaves. And one of my favorite moments for the Rebels is still the moment where she gives the speech trying to unite all the cells and then the ships come out of hyperspace. I got chills thinking about it because that was that was amazing. And it's fun fact: the first ship to come out of hyperspace is the Tantive 4, which is ironic because it's the first ship we ever see in Star Wars. So they knew what they were doing. But anyways, I think we're gonna see Mon Mothma leave the Senate, and I think it's gonna be, I don't know. There's so much ground they have to cover, and I feel like they're gonna do a great job with all of that. Yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah. And then I don't think there's anything else that we wanted to talk about, right? I've got one last topic, but I think it might be a long one. It just depends on if we want to talk about it. It's about the Rick. It's about the Rick.
Our favorite producer, Rick McCallum.
Dude, that might be a whole episode, man. I mean, we can tell people what it is because that's a whole other hour.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to do a teaser?
Yeah, I'll do a teaser because there is a lot to talk about this.
There is a ton.
Recently, Rick McCallum was on the Young Indie Chronicles podcast, which no one's really giving them credit for having him on, and I really, really want to give that podcast a shout out.
That's huge
because they are incredible. They broke down that series. If you haven't watched the Young Indie Chronicles, you definitely should because it's fantastic. But they had him on and they basically talked about, all the behind the scenes stuff that, because he was heavily involved. George Lucas, that was also a show that meant a lot to him. But they talked about the Star Wars Underworld series, and no joke, each episode, it was like a 60 episode series. And then basically the main reason why that the show never aired was because each episode was going to cost $40 million. And this also was going to be directly connected to the other canceled Star Wars project, which was Star Wars 1313. And this takes place after Revenge of the Sith. And then, of that gap between Revenge of the Sith and a New Hope. And it was going to dive into a lot of different roles. It was going to have a thing of how Palpatine rose to power. It was going to have a flashback stuff. It was going to talk about, Boba Fett, like a bunch of different origin stories that we've kind of already gotten through through Disney Plus and stuff. But, from George's actual storytelling of where he was behind the camera. But it didn't go all the way through because each episode cost $40 million and it was a lot. And for a show, it still is a lot. But
let's say that's still a ton for today's time. And there's a lot more with this. There's so much and I read about it and I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. But I don't think we have enough time to talk about it today.
Let's try and get Rick McCallum on the show.
That would be pretty cool. And Rick McCallum, man, I always say it, the greatest yes man producer in the history of producers, man. He made sure him and John Landau, the guy who produced Avatar, those two producers, they made sure their director had everything they needed because man, you watch the prequels and man, he is right next to George Lucas all the time, making sure he has what he
loved
needs.
His enthusiasm on all of the behind the scenes stuff. And I just loved how invested he was. And you could just see the passion that he had when he was talking about every single, kind of thing happening on those movies. So, his heart and soul was into that. And from what he talked about the Star Wars Underworld stuff too, he was very passionate talking about it. So I'm definitely excited to talk more about that.
And if I'm not mistaken, he is the sole producer of the prequels. He did all three of them by himself. Is that correct? Because I know Kathleen Kennedy has a few others helping her, which is that's not saying she can't do it, but usually with movies that big, multiple producers are doing multiple things at once because that's the way it goes. if I'm not mistaken, Rick McCallum was the only producer of the prequels. So that's pretty amazing. But anyways, that's a whole other topic for another story. What does Moz say? Another story for another time or something like that. Anyways,
Oh gosh, don't do that to the listeners, man.
Yeah, but yeah, there's some. We have some concept art pictures, and it's
so sick, bro.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, we'll come back with that topic very, very soon.
Yeah. And then real quick, and I think you can still find this on YouTube, but there's actually 10 minutes of test footage of the Star Wars Underworld show. So yeah. I would definitely check that out. I mean, and again, the stormtroopers will look kind of weird just because of the like it was an early development. Like it was with this test footage. This is what they showed. The different studios to try and pick it up and stuff like that. But yeah, go and check it out. But yeah, I think that's it for this episode. We covered a lot. It was great.
Yeah, we've been gone for a while, everybody. We apologize, but we'll be back full force going forward. And then, like we said, Celebration Tokyo is very, very soon, and trust us, we'll be there covering all the cool stuff. So
yeah. For those of you on Patreon, I'm gonna do another episode that talking about more about Daisy Ridley and my South by Southwest experience. I got some more photos, got some more videos, and Ted might join me because he was boots on the ground over there, and he got a lot of coverage of a lot of different stuff. So if you're interested in that, look us up, Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187 on Patreon. And if you're already a member, thank you so much. And look out for those future episodes.
Sweet. And yeah, be sure to check us out on all of our social medias. We got Instagram, SWS Stuff Pod, and then we got on X Stuff Pod, and then on Blue Sky, Star Wars Stuff bsky.social. I wasn't ready for that one. And then we also have a Facebook.
TikTok still exists.
TikTok still does exist. Yeah, our Star Wars Stuff podcast. And then Star Wars Stuff, email us, please. We will read your email. Please don't send us weird stuff, but Star Wars Stuff podcast at gmail.com. And if you're listening on,
they're going to send us weird stuff now, James.
But hey, here's the beauty of it. It all goes to David. So David's going to see all this weird stuff.
I also have access to that email, so I see it too.
All right, well,
I thought you have access to it too, James. I guess.
Yeah,
you changed the password so many times.
And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. Even if you really don't want to, we really want that 5-star review. I'm just kidding, but please give us a review or give us a rating. And also, we have a website, StarWarsStuffPodcast.com, and Facebook. What is this? All this stuff just is new. It's not new. Countdown City Geeks. Be sure to look up Countdown City Geeks. They are amazing.
Countdown City Geeks.
They are the best, and we're so fortunate to be involved with it. What do you got?
I will be over at Planet Comic-Con over at Kansas City here next week. And then I'm also going to be over at C2E2. I will be there as media. You'll probably see me dressed as Chewbacca as well. So if you see me, come and say hi.
Give him a nice hug. Also, CountdownCityGeeks.com. Colin's been writing some articles. I just wrote 2 articles for Mickey 17 and the Alien Earth activation at South by Southwest. So if you want to check that out, do it. There's pictures, descriptions.
There you go.
Sweet. Well,
and for Colin, James, my name's David. May the Force be with you
always.